Welcome back, everybody, to the Stadium Journey podcast, and thanks for joining us tonight. We're not sure. This might be our sixth season premiere. We haven't figured that out yet, but even if it's not, thanks for sticking around for 5 happy years, right? Hey, our website, stadiumjourney.com, is the world leader in sports and travel information. And hey, have you checked out the new site yet? It's wicked awesome. Actually, it's pretty good, yeah. We are aware, before anybody starts emailing me or messaging me or, like the messages I've been getting, we are aware that the old site broke when we moved everything. Think of the old website as this thing we were holding together with duct tape and stuff. It was due to break at any point. We knew it was going to bust. We knew it was going to break down. And luckily, we had the new one in place. Tried to move all the old reviews over, and the whole thing crashed. So we're working on it so you can still visit the old stuff while we get it moved over to the new site. Bear with us. We'll get that all taken care of real soon.
Yeah, so shut up.
Yeah, stop bothering me, please.
Stop bothering me.
Stop.
Stadium Journey emergencies.
Dave especially.
My phone.
I woke up Sunday morning. There must have been like 20 messages from Dave.
Oh, my phone. The phone is ringing. Phone is ringing off the hook. Oh, God.
Oh, hey, everybody. Connect with us on social media channels at Stadium Journey. If you're looking for audio versions, if you want to listen to this podcast in your car or something, just go to wherever you find your favorite podcast. Type in HIAC Talk Radio Network, and we'll be there. You're looking for a video podcast, you want to sit down on your laptop and watch us. We're all very good looking, I must say. So if you want to watch us as well as listen to us, you can find all of the podcasts simulcasted on Stadium Journey's YouTube page. And if you want to be part of our live studio audience, we record live every other Tuesday night at 7 Eastern at danlaw.tv. So the gang's all here tonight. Dave Cotney's here. You can follow him online at ProFan9. We're all still on Twitter, even though Elon Musk took it over. I'm not really seeing much of a difference, except I'm getting more porn bots and a little bit more MAGA stuff, but I can handle that.
Or I don't know. I had a full-blown argument with a Nazi.
Did you?
Nazi.
Yeah, straight up, just the Nazi chatting about his Nazism.
I had some guy respond to me yesterday, and he actually used all the MAGA buzzwords in one sentence. It was pretty impressive.
Well, was it Kid Rock?
So did he was a kid, right? It was Ted Nugent. So did Adolf. He just the same, blah blah blah, and it was like, God, go goose step, burn books away from me, please, thanks.
Mark Viquez is here. You can follow him at Ballpark Hunter. The above average comedian's back, a little under the weather, but he's hanging in there. Dan Colachico's here. Follow him at DanLaw83, and I'm Paul Baker. You can follow me at PuckmanRI, and we're happy to be joined again tonight by our friend Andrew Bauhs. Andrew is here to talk about some college football traveling as he continues his quest to visit every FCS football stadium in the country. You can track those travels at collegefootballtour.com. Welcome back, Andrew. Good to see you.
Thank you. Much love being with you guys. And listen, 100 is the number. I hit Stadium 100.
Cool.
And I did that with intent to end the season on 100 so I can milk it in the off season like you wouldn't believe. That's my goal.
And where's the finish line nowadays? I keep forgetting.
They keep extending it on me. They just added Kennesaw State as Conference USA works itself towards trying to get any sort of a conference assembled. So Kennesaw State's joining soon. So we're at 134. Currently it's 131, but in the next couple of years, 134 is contracted.
Nice. So what places did you add this year to get up to 100?
Yeah, so I entered the year with 92 stadiums, and I added 8 new ones. And let me be clear that when I'm on my journey, this isn't just stopping by and waving to a few people and watching a game and leaving. I mean, I thoroughly explore and experience game day. So if I can get in early and leave late, that's great. So we kicked it off with UTEP at the beginning of the year in El Paso. We hit Auburn, moved on to Washington, which I'd love to chat about for sure. That's a great one.
Cool.
SMU, North Texas, Clemson, Florida State, and USF in Tampa rounded out the new ones this year, and hit a couple other ones along the way, some old familiar haunts like Wisconsin, Penn State, Northwestern, Eastern Michigan. So those were on the docket as well. And it was a great season. Just met a lot of wonderful people, hit a lot of great stadiums. As usual, it's just epic.
That's really cool. There's some big names there, so this is going to be some great conversation. I'm trying to think if I hit any FBS stadiums. Yes, I did. I hit Boston College, so I hit one.
You hit Connecticut, right?
I had one.
No,
yeah, Connecticut, UConn.
Yeah,
I did Purdue, I did IU, and I did Boston College at Notre Dame. And I met some very pleasant Boston College fans who kind of told me what they thought about South Bend in Indiana. I thought that was funny.
All right, so it's all on the table. Excuse me, it's all on the table this evening. I will be going to a bowl game. I don't know if that counts for anything. I'll be hitting up
bowl game.
The Fenway Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Should be fun. Didn't think they could play football there anymore.
Review. Somebody else is doing that, but I will still be going.
Well, I'm going to a bowl game as well, also at a baseball stadium. I'll be at Petco Park for the Holiday Bowl in San Diego in late December.
You want to trade places? San Diego in December sounds a lot.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Is that Wisconsin's bowl?
No, I'm not following the Badgers. We're going out and visiting some friends and such, but it's Oregon and North Carolina playing this year. Honestly, like we love San Diego, and went to a couple Padres games this summer, and thought, if we haven't been to a bowl game in a while, let's come back. We're spending a couple weeks in San Diego and going to hit the Holiday Bowl.
Beautiful, San Diego. One of my cities I've got to get to. It's on my short list.
So
is fantastic. This? And not to spend too much time talking about the Holiday Bowl of all things.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
Is this like? It's got to be like the first or second one that's not at the football stadium, isn't it?
I think it's actually the first, because last year they had to cancel it due to the pandemic. In fact, it was so close to being on. UCLA and NC State were set to go. And about 1 hour before kickoff, UCLA shut it down. And all the NC State fans, all the North Carolina State fans, there were hordes of them that came out to San Diego. I mean, there could be worse places to be stuck. But, I mean,
right. Unless you're saving money.
True.
Oh, damn it, let's go to the beach.
But it was disappointing, and so I think I'm feeling like this is the first one there, because Qualcomm hadn't been torn down yet, and I think this is it.
So is this going to be a permanent move, or is this temporary until they'll move to where San Diego State's going to play?
Yeah, San Diego State's actually already playing at Snapdragon Stadium. It's on the same grounds as Qualcomm was. Right. And I, as far as I understand, I think we're in a little bit of a trial basis with Petco Park right now. It looks like it's gonna go for a while, but I wouldn't doubt that they would at some point down the road explore options with Snapdragon.
From my experience, watching a football game in a baseball stadium is just terrible.
Yeah, I've watched a few at Wrigley. Northwestern usually will tap into their Chicago's Big Ten team thing, and bring the Wildcats into Wrigley, which I mean is cool, because I mean it is. I mean, that is, you were just at Wrigley, Paul, and but you're right. I mean, as far as the seating goes, it's terrible. You're going for the nostalgia of the stadium. You're going for the experience. You're not necessarily going to get these great seats. I remember a couple of years ago, 2010 actually, when they played at Wrigley. Do you remember this? Northwestern played Illinois at Wrigley Field, and they realized about 24 hours prior to the game that one end zone was a foot away from the wall, from the brick wall, the ivy, and they deemed it too dangerous to play any offense in that direction. So they had to flip it, and all offense went in one direction. It was the nuttiest thing I'd ever seen. And I thought it was really funny because Northwestern fans were holding up signs in that end zone saying, right field end zone bleacher seat refund tickets, please. We'd like a refund. Yeah. But they did get to see one touchdown. I remember Northwestern returning an interception. So that was at least something.
And then if it hit the wire, it was a do-over, right? On the punt.
Right.
Yeah, it was that bad. It was, there was so many jokes.
But they fixed it for, they came back in 2021 last year and did it. And it's good. It's a good experience. So I'm looking forward to the Holiday Bowl. See how it goes.
I think you guys are probably all too young to have ever experienced a game in a multi-use stadium. But I remember catching a couple University of Maryland games when I went to school down there in old Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. And, they used to play, the Colts used to play there. The Ravens played there for a couple of years. And we saw University of Maryland games. And, yeah, it was just awful. So I don't know. I don't know how they did it in so many places.
Well, I saw baseball in multi-purpose stadiums. I don't think I ever saw football. No, Toronto Argonauts. I saw them play at the Sky Dome. So, yeah, I don't think I ever saw like an Eagles game or a Steelers game or a Jets game at Shea. Yeah, I remember watching them on TV. That was the norm. Both teams played at the same venue. You had artificial turf that looked like carpet. I don't know how the heck we played on that. And, your outfield seats.
Tackle, let me tell you.
Yeah, your outfield seats were way up high. And, yeah, it's weird looking at those, highlights from way back when. The stadium designs have changed dramatically. It's night and day.
There's no more dual purpose now that Oakland went to Vegas.
Yeah. No,
they used to have like flat concrete basically under that turf instead of like the rubber tires. Swear there was like no give.
Oh yeah, it was like playing on the sidewalk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even when the Jays just did a partial renovation, so one of the things that they hit the playoffs in 2015 and listened to Harold Reynolds just ream on how terrible everything was, and they had the little sliding pits. So they kicked the Argonauts out. They actually built a dirt infield, which you think was no big deal, right? But they actually cut the concrete out along that whole dirt infield and packed it with dirt, I guess. So it's a lot softer than what it was before.
Let me just come back just to verify Petco Park. This is their second attempt at the 43rd annual Holiday Bowl. So that means this is the first actual go, and they have a contract for 5 years. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
But what nostalgia are you getting out of Petco Park?
None. None.
I love Petco Park. Nostalgia is not something that Petco Park brings to the table.
No, I personally like the uniqueness of it. Did you see that Wisconsin basketball played at Miller Park, now American Family Field?
Miller Park.
Yeah. So, it's really, I just always think it's interesting. How are they going to make this work? I want to know. I almost went to that game up in Milwaukee, but I just like the uniqueness of it. No, there's no nostalgia, but man, there's a lot of beauty. If you've been to Petco Park, some of those incredible views from the concourses up there, the ocean, the Coronado Bridge, downtown, everything. It's like, so, you're bringing the city really in with this one. It's about engaging the city of San Diego, which really gets behind their Holiday Bowl big time.
As a slight aside to connect both, football and San Diego, it was just announced that the National Lacrosse League is going to do their first outdoor game. They're doing March the 4th in San Diego at Snapdragon Stadium against Vegas. So
they're going to play indoor lacrosse outdoors?
Yep. They're going to play indoor lacrosse outdoors. So,
and y'all,
hey,
I was
why not?
watching.
What the hell?
I was watching Snapdragon Stadium get built. I'd been out there a couple of times watching it. This is a great facility. Man, thank God they got rid of that Qualcomm. I'm telling you, the cockroach-infested place. I'm not even kidding. It was terrible.
Relatively inexpensive.
I think so.
It's like $350 million.
That's a bargain these days.
Yeah.
Ask
the Nashville, Tennessee, if that's a good price for a stadium.
Well, how much is Snapdragon seat?
$1.5 billion for
about $35,000.
Okay, that's why. Yeah,
that they don't need.
Yeah. Northwestern is tearing down. It's breaking my heart. So one of the places I went to this fall was Northwestern, built in 1926. Ryan Field, which was Dyke Stadium at the time, was almost going to hit its 100th birthday, but they're going to tear it down in 2025 or 24, I guess, actually. But they're building brand new, like state-of-the-art, incredible. The facilities at Northwestern, like this is a team that, has the facilities, but working on the team, right? I think it's going to come, but it's going to be Ryan Field again. And Mr. Ryan, who funds everything there, just wrote a $480 million check. Whoosh, and stadium, boom, 2026. I'm looking forward to that one, but I'm going to miss old Ryan Field. That's like the Wrigley Field of college football.
Why don't they just move down to Soldier Field? Because that looks like it's going to be empty soon.
Because Northwestern is. Oh man, I hear you. No, that's so true, right? The Arlington Bears, good. No, they wouldn't do that. But man, I mean, they are going to be at Soldier, I think, for the 2 years that they're working on the stadium, though, and that's just going to be pathetically horrible. Going to be, busing students down. It's gonna be awful. But whatever. I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Just hop on the train.
Yeah, it's Northwestern fans. They struggle to get from their dorm to Ryan Field, which is like a 10-minute walk away. So it's like, I'm not sure you're gonna get all these kids on a bus. Boy, that's going to be rough to get through. But I really think the stadium is going to be incredible part of the Chicagoland area. It's gonna be cool.
Dan, you got something or? Oh no, I've been school mode. I saw the hand up. So, Andrew, what was your
stretching my pinched nerve?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was the highlight?
I mean, how I am. I love them all, but if I have to really have to zoom in, I think the highlight for us was Husky Stadium at Washington. This is at the American Airlines Field at Husky Stadium. This is an incredible venue. First of all, classic, iconic. It's got these two upper decks with the covers over them that almost looks like wings, which is kind of perfect for Alaska Airlines. The special part of Washington game days and of the stadium itself is that it overlooks Lake Washington, and they engage in one of the best tailgating rituals that you can imagine. It's not tailgating, it's sailgating. And boats just drop anchor, pull up to dock, and tailgaters. I mean, and these boats are souped up. They've got, everything you could possibly imagine on them that give them all the luxuries you'd want on a game day. So much so that a lot of these people don't actually make it to the game because it's actually probably better to just stay on the boat. We got invited on a boat out there, which was wonderful. And we had a wonderful time with these folks who took good care of us. And, I mean, outstanding. And I was told it's not sailgating, it's stern gating, because it's the back of the boat. So I was like, okay, well, that's clever. But I'm sorry, it's not as whimsical and doesn't rhyme like sailgating with tailgating. So it's not going to fly. But really, really cool. Great stadium, great venue. We saw the Stanford game in late September. Got no rain, 75 degrees, clear skies. It was, if you're going to hit Seattle, go in September, I think. And it was just fantastic. I mean, we all kind of agreed, like, this is it. This was kind of the crown jewel of the season.
Is it the best located college football stadium?
You mean as far as the view?
We're not talking about the building, but is it the best location?
In relation to what?
All the others.
You're saying, like, to be situated in Seattle? I mean, if you're being, like, as far as being situated in Seattle, you do have to battle with the Seahawks. You do have to battle with all the other sporting teams. But here's the thing. They really love their college football there. It's not like Chicago. Chicago is a pro sports town, and college football kind of gets lost in the shuffle here a little bit. Northwestern struggles to try to get the Chicagoans to come up to Evanston. Seattle they're all in. They really, really are. And this stadium seats a hefty amount, and they can fill it. And so, I mean, are there prettier locations as far as that? Yeah. I mean, BYU.
Yeah, like top out. I guess I'm thinking, like, you got your big programs or whatever. Often they're like in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere.
Right?
Okay.
And the whole school is in the middle of nowhere. But I just think of Washington as like being right on the bay, or it's right on the water essentially.
Yeah.
And overall, is there? Okay. I haven't been, but I would say, just from what I know, it's got it's got the best location. Maybe just like the view, the surrounding, not necessarily the most functional location, I guess, but
It is not.
No, but
okay.
I mean, it's still on campus, right?
Yeah. All encompassing. Like, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it's a top 5 spot. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I can think of other stadiums that have a skyline view. That's sort of like a telling tale, right? Like, so Georgia Tech in Atlanta, I mean, probably the most beautiful skyline view you can get. It's not TCF Bank Stadium, Huntington Bank in Minneapolis Stadium has a view of downtown Minneapolis. So, I think they take advantage of the town when they have it. But it's a give and take because you are going to lose some fandom with the professional teams in town and lose a little bit of the excitement. But yeah, I mean, I would not hesitate putting Washington in the top 5 as far as access to city and environment and conference. And yeah, no, totally. I'd have to sit and really think about a few others, but yeah, I wouldn't call it a crown jewel of the season if it wasn't that way.
I think the Utah schools have a nice view, but it's a little different, I guess. Maybe Utah combines the city with the campus with you've got the Olympic sort of piece to it, and then you've got the view of the mountains there, and I mean, it seems to put a lot of stuff together, but it's not on the water. It's there's something a little bit different about just being on the water for a stadium, I think.
Yeah, there's only 3 stadiums that you can boat up to. I can tell you that. It's Washington, Baylor, and Tennessee, and I guarantee you don't want to jump in any of them.
Pittsburgh.
I'm just saying, but
Pittsburgh.
definitely not Baylor and Tennessee.
You can boat up to formerly known as Heinz Stadium, Heinz Field. I don't even know what it's called.
I guess you can. Maybe I'm speaking of more on campus stadiums. Yeah, you can. Yeah. I remember being at Heinz. I don't know what it's called either. I should know that. I don't know. Anarchy Stadium.
It starts with an
A. Yeah, pretty view there too. I'll tell you though. Another great view.
Stadium.
Pardon me?
Acrisure Stadium.
Thank you. Perfect. UTEP was incredible as far as structure as well, and it's literally carved into a mountain. They literally blasted away mountain to make room for the stadium, and it's like the mountain curves with the stadium, and really pretty. I mean, you can see Mexico from the stadium, which is pretty cool. We were fortunate to go on a sellout, which was like their first one in 10 years, maybe longer. So it was, that's beautiful. But again, smaller town. But then the positive is that El Paso really rallies around their team a lot more, so, it's a give and take.
And did you find any of them like maybe a little overblown? Like, you got some names here that come with like a lot of expectations, right? Like Clemson, I would think, and Florida State and Auburn would come with big expectations. So did anybody like not meet their expectations?
This is a question I've gotten so often this year. Probably the number one question is, what stadiums have you walked into expecting a lot and it fell short, and the vice versa? And I hate to say this, and I'm probably going to tick off a lot of their fans, but Clemson was a little underwhelming to us. It was as far as, I mean, okay, we went right after they got killed by Notre Dame. So they were kind of popped out of the playoff picture, but they were still a top 10 team playing the Miami Hurricanes on senior day. And the energy just wasn't there. I understand how it can happen. I've been like, Wisconsin has gone through that kind of stuff, and that's my alma mater. So, I've seen that kind of like deflated feel, but the energy in the stadium it kind of wasn't there that day. The parking situation at Clemson is horrific, horrible. I've never seen $100 for one lot that was nearby. And that was the highest I think I'd ever seen. And there literally was nothing for a general game day. So the accessibility, all of that. The stadium is very nice, but it fell a little flat for me that day, which was unfortunate. I'm absolutely sure if I went on a different game day, but I was told, come next week for the South Carolina game, and it'll be a big rivalry. It'll be super exciting. I'm like, this is senior day. It's Miami. Your team is in the top 10. What more do you want? I don't know what else to say, So we were kind of a little bit like, disappointed there.
That's interesting because Clemson was always the disappointment team, right? Until Dabo got there, like they were always like, wasn't that a thing? Pulling a Clemson, having a big horrible loss that just wiped you out.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Clemson fans are devoted and they love their team, and it is an incredible place and a must see for college football fans. Absolutely. It's just that particular day, it just was kind of like, it was just, ugh. I mean, they were up 24-0 at half too. I'm sure that played a role. It was 40 degrees and a lot of people were getting cold and left. I'm like, come on, put on a sweater, so 40 degrees. Whoa.
They call northern snowflakes.
I'm telling you. Oh, geez. So that maybe that was just all those things combined. It was kind of a bad cocktail for Clemson that day, but yeah, that was a disappointment. On the flip end, not that I visited it this year, but probably the one that exceeded expectations when I walked in was TCU in Fort Worth. That it's a great newer stadium they have down there. TCU fans are, a lot more rabid than you'd think they are. There's a lot less Christian in them than you think Texas Christian has. But obviously they have a lot to cheer for this year with their team in the playoff. And that place rocks. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. What would
you
say
you went to North Texas as well, Andrew?
I did.
I drove by that one.
Yeah. Did you see the wings on one side of the stadium? So they actually have at one end, they literally have these wings that are carved out. The stadium, kind of one end, instead of just straight bleachers that go up, are two like triangles that meet up to a point on either end to sort of look like two wings, as like eagle wings. It's a very interesting constructed design because at the very top there's only one seat, you know what I mean, and then it gets bigger as it goes down. But it's cool. North Texas's stadium, Apogee Stadium, is probably the greenest stadium in the country, and I don't necessarily mean because their colors are green and white, but because they literally do everything they possibly can. I think it's LEED certified. It's the only one I think in college football. It's pretty neat stat about that. Cool stadium, pretty new.
So, what would you say was the, tradition or unique piece from that you saw this season or experienced that I don't know, that really kind of wowed you? Or
well, I'm going to throw sailgating out there again, but aside from that, when you go to an Auburn game, they urge you to get inside that stadium an hour before if you can. You don't need to get in an hour before, but they just absolutely want to make sure that you catch the flight of the Eagle, which occurs maybe about 10, 15 minutes prior to kick. And they release that Eagle from an upper concourse and it makes its swoops around the stadium, and all the fans are screaming war. And eventually when it lands on the logo, they scream Eagle, and it's, me describing it sounds kind of pathetic, but it really is cool when you hear it all together. And the other one I got the opportunity, I think it's a tie, is seeing Chief Osceola come out on Renegade at Florida State. And the athletic director there was very kind enough to give us sideline passes. So I think I felt the flames from the spear in my face. it kind of brought tears to my eyes. That's how I know I'm a college football fan, being all that close. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Brought tears to my eyes, and then I realized it was my eyebrows burning.
Exactly. Yes. That, No, those two stood out. They're as advertised, those traditions, and people get in the stadiums and wait. Talk about a good way to get fans in the stands early. I mean, you can't miss this tradition. You can't miss it, So those two are, like I said, as advertised. Really cool.
I've actually met the Auburn War Eagle.
You did?
I put a picture in the chat. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Check that out.
Nice.
How did you come about that experience?
I was at a baseball game in Birmingham, and the Eagle and the Eagles' young handler were there. So
that's awesome.
Take a picture with it. Of course, my wife wanted nothing to do with it. She wanted to stand way on the far side.
Too much Alfred Hitchcock movies. Oh, that's cool.
No, anytime we're near an animal, you'll notice if you see a lot of pictures of us and animals, she's always far away from the animal, and I'm on the animal if I can.
I hope all our peeps can see that. There's your picture.
There's the eagle.
There. Very cool.
It's a pretty big bird right there. It must be.
That is a big bird.
It is. That's pretty impressive. I also Eastern Michigan. I didn't realize this. I do my research pretty well. At least I like to think that I do. But I went to Eastern Michigan and they had a live eagle as well. I got to meet that eagle there.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that.
Right?
When I was
so there. Yeah. So it's. I mean, and it does a flight before the game too. But it's like it basically goes from the 50 and then lands in the end zone. So it's just kind of a little up and down. But yeah, it's those birds when you get close to them, I was like, holy man, these are serious creatures.
That's why they can pick up small dogs, like Mark's dogs would have no chance against them.
Look out, Sox! Here comes War Eagle.
Yeah, Sox is so light.
Sox is a Crimson Tide fan now.
We've had some Falcons like come on our back porch just hanging out.
Oh, jeez.
Like, get inside. Yeah. Now, Zura's a little chubby. Might have problems picking her up, so.
Now you got, I would say, what, 2 smaller ones? All right, maybe 3 smaller ones. So how would the smaller spots, SMU and North Texas and UTEP. I guess 4th. USF would be smaller too.
Yeah, that SMU is small now because back in the day that was a big time program.
Right. Yeah, the death penalty kind of got him. Well, the
penalty killed him.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't going to say it, but thank you. So I can, I always.
Dan.
What the heck was that?
That's not me.
No?
No, it's not me.
Oh, sorry. I apologize, Dan.
You son of a bitch. Nah, I didn't do anything.
You'd think the above average comedian has noisemakers everywhere.
I don't, because I try not to do morning zoo.
You just had this guilty look on your face. So.
I was legitimately confused because, like, what the hell's going on?
John Landers in the morning on Eagle 106 with breakfast flakes.
This is Barton the fart boy in Tampa, Florida. Wasn't me. Not this time.
So back to football. I mean, I always kind of tease Eastern Michigan, and I went for a game there. They have the gray turf, and as some people say, it looks like they're playing in a parking lot. One side
weird on TV. I always think something's wrong with my television set.
I know it does. It looks like, it really does.
It was cheaper actually. That turf was cheaper because it costs extra money to
make
it green.
No
so
way.
Did they build their whole? Are you telling me that they built their whole like factory, the factory, and like the workmanship around the color of the bargain field they got?
No, I don't think they. I think it was just a sort of happy coincidence that it was cheaper to make it gray.
Hey, Dave. Let's see if this works.
Oh, the suspense now.
Didn't work? It didn't work. The podcast heard it.
Wow.
Okay.
It was the Price is Right sound.
Oh, I love that one. I know. The loser one. Yeah. I kind of have a dream of playing that in my classroom for my kids. But it's not necessarily, that's a little bit frowned upon.
Whenever I see it fail, that's the first sound that pops in my head. I'm like,
me too, always.
Yeah.
And
every time.
obsessed with this new. I came across Price is Right Bob Barker era on a particular channel on TV. Like I will watch that as like meditation.
Yep.
It's like okay, that makes me a little weird too, but that's okay.
You're at the right place.
You're among friends.
It's an upgrade from Murder She Wrote and Heart to Heart, which is what I used to watch
very much.
Okay, so here's the disappointment about Eastern Michigan. I can't believe. So I was there in 2007, coming back in 2022. So that's 15 years of opportunity to improve. And the disappointment is that more of the stadium is tarped over. So a lot of tarping, meaning like they're not even expecting fans to come. And the side of the stadium that is mostly tarped, the steps leading up to that side, there are weeds coming out of the cracks. The entire side, the concession doors are all shut. There's weeds coming out of those. So concessions are only on one side of the stadium. Super disappointing that, it just, and their credit card machine failed at the only place that you could get beer. So
they did improve. On the field.
Yes.
Because they are in a bowl. I was shocked when I saw Eastern Michigan is in a bowl game. What?
Yeah, I got to, have you ever heard of foaling? You ever heard of foaling? You have? Okay. Foaling is a combination of bowling and football. And so basically, I mean, it's not like.
Tackle bowling?
Well, I wish. If it was
I have a YouTube video. It's my highest YouTube video is foaling. Go on YouTube and look up foaling, and you'll find me.
Like attempting it, trying to do it?
Yeah, just recording people doing it. I have the owner come out. He tells me what it's all about. It's just a lot of people just dodging footballs. It's hazardous. It's a lot of get a good workout, and you're drinking. So I don't know.
Well, yeah. But basically, like the way it was presented to me, outside the stadium, they had like a foaling section set up, and you throw a football and try to knock down all 10 pins. That's basically the idea. I think it might be 6, and they give you a good distance. How they call people down to the field, like to like participate in contests. Apparently, I was decent enough in foaling that they asked me to come down on the field. And I won a $120 gift certificate to the Ypsilanti foaling place, which I'm gonna try to make it out there next summer.
Yeah, actually, the idea came across by a couple guys at the Indy 500 here in town, and then they opened their first foaling warehouse in Hamtramck right outside of Detroit.
Okay.
And I think there's 5 locations, or could be more now. I think Atlanta, Indy, and I think the rest are in the Detroit, Michigan. But it's a lot of fun. Probably not my cup of tea, but I can see why people like it. It's
safer than throwing axes, I guess.
It's safer. Well,
that's next. Axe foaling will be next. How about that,
Mark? It's a drinking game. Like that's what it is. Let's just be honest. I mean, that's what it is. And anytime you can introduce a sport that involves being able to hold a beer while you do it, it's going to be popular. That's exactly right.
Play football with beer in our hands.
Well, see,
or kickball. We've done that with kickball, slosh ball.
Oh yeah, that's fun. Oh yeah. That's big in Chicago. It's like drinking as you're kicking a ball and running, and trying to hold your beer and keep. Oh yeah, that's classic. Okay, I do have to, if I were to pick another small stadium to really emphasize, SMU, their Gerald J. Ford Stadium is very nice, but it's not the stadium I want to focus on. They may have one of the top 10 tailgating traditions I've ever seen. I mean, you have Ole Miss, you have the Grove, and you have, like I said, sailgating at Washington. But this tradition they have at SMU, it's called the Boulevard, and is a stretch of lawn, well, a thin stretch of lawn because it's a boulevard, separating two roads that all lead right up to the stadium. But it is a long, like blocks long stretch of boulevard, and it is just littered with tents that are popped up everywhere, and it is a party zone. You would not think that SMU could produce something like this, but it's kind of emulated after the Grove. And it was a Friday night that I went, and I remember some SMU fans kind of informed me in advance. They said, "Oh, dude, you should be going on a Saturday. It's gonna be so much more awesome." And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna make it look good. Don't worry. It's what I do." But Friday night, it was still incredible. I was like, "This is really neat." And then they bring the band and the fans and the players, make their team walk down the boulevard area. And if you get to an SMU game, you have to get there a couple hours early and just stroll the grounds. I mean, there's a lot of good people watching. And it really, really was eye-opening. They built that stadium, I think, in 2000, and I think they really made an emphasis on trying to build a tradition around that new stadium to really get fans involved, and they really did it. Now it's a matter of getting them from the boulevard into the stadium. That's the next thing. That's the next step. Like they just kind of all pass out on the lawn.
I'm gonna be at SMU.
Oh, really?
Basketball.
Okay. Well, at the very least, you can stroll over and see where it is and get a sense of the length of it. Yeah, do it, because you could drive up and down it because it'll be open because there won't be anybody there for football day. But seriously, like it's pretty impressive. Like I was pretty wowed. So
how many of the conferences can you say that you've front to back? I'm done. I mean, obviously you're done the Big Ten.
Big Ten is done.
Is there any other ones that you're like tapped out? I'm finished. I'm done with this conference.
Yeah, Auburn completed the SEC for me.
Okay.
So that's to have the two most powerful conferences in the sport completed is a definite feather in my Wisconsin baseball cap. I would say that I'm very, very close. I'm like at 70 to 80% with all the others. The Middle American Conference, MAC, I just have Buffalo left. And I know.
Save the last.
Dave and I more like the furthest from Chicago for last. But Dave, we can work that out. I'd be so happy to meet you. Buffalo will finish the MAC. Like I've done all the Pac-12 South. Like the areas that I've got to work on the most is the Northeast and the Northwest. It's like those upper reaches of the country. I've done a heck of a lot of the South, and I have like 5 left in Texas to do, because Texas is kind of like a never-ending like roll of teams. But to say the Big Ten and the SEC are done is pretty cool.
So what do you have any preliminary kind of ideas for next year?
Mm-hmm. I do. So I do know that I'm very much so planning on going to the opener at Vanderbilt. I've been to Vanderbilt before, but I'm going back to refilm my episode of Stadium Shorts. So on my YouTube channel, I have, if you were to search Stadium Shorts and then name any team, you could find an episode of me taking you through campus. Dave, I know how much you love those. I hope you've been enjoying the ones that have been coming out. And Vanderbilt, I have some old film, but I look like I'm about 12 because it was about 15 years ago. And it was really bad video. And so I need to update it. And going back when they play Hawaii, that happened. There's like 3 or 4 that I did the video like in 2006, 2007 or something. And I'm like, I'll edit it later. I don't know how I want it to be. And then then I, gained weight in my face and lost a bunch of hair. And then I'm like, okay, got to refilm that.
He's going from looking like he's 12 to looking like he's 18.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Well, it's the filter. I can make the filter on this Zoom is great.
Mr. Instagram.
Yeah, we're beyond filters on this podcast.
All right, I do have a couple in mind that it's like some heavy hitters I want to get to. Really want to get up to Oregon. I really do to get up there. Baylor, I want to hit next year. I have been holding Army in my back pocket for the longest time. I want to get like a mid-October game when the leaves are just changing and I can really experience West Point at its peak. Syracuse, I want to get to, and now that Kansas and UConn are both bowl teams, albeit at 6 wins apiece, I think it's a good time to get over there too. So I'm looking at Kansas and UConn. I would love to get the Group of 5 done. The only problem, the Power 5 conferences done. The only problem with that is that my last year is going to be full of like a bunch of like bottom feeder teams, and it kind of be a interesting way to go out. But the biggest question I've been getting lately is, well, now that you're this close, like, which one do you want to be your last?
Are you saving one in particular?
Well, okay. So
or you do that, and there's going to be a new team coming up that's going to just screw the whole thing.
See, that's just it. Like, that's exactly right. So it takes planning, and I think I've got maybe about 4 more years, and I take my time with this. I've told you guys this a lot. I don't want to just run in and run out. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about that. It's just I want to slow it down. And so I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm so glad I took my time because it's helped me to really meet people and really absorb the experience and the tradition and everything. But it'll take me a couple more years, and it's worth it. But I would say right now I'm looking for a place where I can have like kind of a big city where I can bring where a lot of my friends may want to come in and celebrate it with me. I don't think they're going to want to go to, Ruston, Louisiana for a weekend. I mean, I appreciate these incredible college towns, but we're also looking for a little nightlife. So one place that I have on my mind right now is UTSA, San Antonio, at the Alamo Dome. I'm kind of thinking that might be a good one. I was just kind of talking to some friends about that, and they're like, "We'd go to San Antonio, totally." So, okay, that might work. So, it'd be a fan base that is like growing. It's a team that's growing, and I think that'd be kind of cool. I was flirting with Boise for a while. Maybe I do Boise State and finish on the blue turf. But you know how it is. Like, like you just said, they're going to extend the finish line again, and suddenly Kennesaw State's going to be my last one or something like that, So it is what it is.
Or somebody's going to build a new stadium, and then, all right, I got to get to that now.
Well, and you know what? I that's the one thing that saves me is that I don't have to say, like, I will say, in fact, I've kind of been changing my lingo a little bit. I've been saying more like to thoroughly experience game day at every campus so that I don't have to necessarily say like stadium because
we had an argument about this our last show.
Yeah. So no. And you know what? Like, I do plan on going back to a lot of the new stadiums. I would love to, believe me. Like, I'm just at USF, right? And they play in the Tampa Buccaneers Stadium. Help me. Raymond James. Thank you. They play at Raymond James Stadium. And I will say, for the last War on I-4, UCF and USF, they had a pretty good crowd. They pretty much filled the whole bottom bowl. And for USF, that's a pretty good deal. UCF fans are going to say it was half them, and they're right. But still, it was a pretty exciting experience. But as I've always said, these pro stadiums rip the excitement out of a college football stadium, and USF has a plan in 26 or 27 to have a new on-campus stadium. I can't wait that long for USF to get their beep together. So I just went. But I told the USF fans there, I'm like, this place is awesome. Your fans are awesome. I would love to come back and see the new stadium. But I'm counting USF. It doesn't suddenly fall off my list because they have a new stadium. If that was the case, my number would be like 85 and not 100.
If I'm looking at this right, it seems to me like your choice is obvious. Unless I'm not reading this right.
Okay. Tell me.
Shouldn't your last one be UNLV?
There you go. You're right. But in there lies a small problem, and that is they play in a pro stadium.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to finish in a pro stadium. I really, really don't. If they played at old Sam Boyd Stadium, I'd probably say yeah. And on that note, Vegas might be one I'm going to this year because I have a friend who's a travel agent who's pulling like a big group together in the like early October for Vegas, and I'm like, oh my god, if UNLV's playing, I'll still be there because it all, of course, rolls around football for me, So, yeah, no, you're right. That came up as far as places to finish, and yeah, it as far as town and experience and all that, it totally checks every box. But I can't make my last stadium a pro stadium. It just doesn't feel right. Even though the Alamo Dome was intended to be to entice a pro team to San Antonio, but it didn't nonetheless, and it only houses college football in the Alamo Bowl. So
now, but the Alamo Dome isn't on campus, is it?
It is not, and I was researching about whether or not UTSA is interested in building a new stadium, and there's hemming and hawing back and forth about it. I think there's a lot of love for the Alamo Dome. It's really loud, and the UTSA fans really like it. And even though it's not directly on campus, San Antonio really gets around their team. Since there is no pro team in the city, they really get around UTSA. Stadium holds 64,000, but on a really good day, they can get it into the 40s or whatever. And honestly, even though it has some empty pockets, it's really loud. So I think they like it. I know there'd definitely be some naysayers that would say they'd like to have an on-campus stadium, and that might happen, but it's not in the near future. They have no plans. So, I don't mind. I don't mind if that's the last one. It wouldn't bother me at all. Alamo Bowl is iconic. It's hosted a lot of incredible Alamo Bowls, classic games. I think it's known as kind of a college football venue. I think it's okay. I don't need your approval.
Hey, man, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, it's just never gonna end. It's never gonna end.
No, those goalposts are gonna keep moving on you.
It's all right. It's all right. Here's the thing: if I can do the next 4 years and get it like really close, like 3 or 4 left, then if they sneak one more in on me, then I'll only have like 5 or 6 to do instead of 3.
Hey, look who you're talking to. Like, is it ever gonna end for us?
No. Y'all are crazy.
I just keep finding new quests and abandoning old ones. I haven't finished anything.
Well, no, and I go back, like you were saying how, you went back to a stadium after 15 years.
Right.
I went back to Minute Maid Park this year in Houston. I went back to Detroit's Comerica, Toledo. A lot has changed. A lot's different. You can take videos. You can take more pictures now. So it is kind of fun going back to those old ballparks and seeing something new. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever run out of places to visit.
Well, that's Mark, you'll know you're in trouble when you're like going to Cheyenne, Wyoming to watch Little League.
Yeah, actually, I did go to Cheyenne, Wyoming when I was in Denver back in like 13 years ago to see a summer collegiate baseball team, and they were just rolling out the grandstands because the ballpark came up to like a parking lot. And I said, forget it, I'm leaving. But I wish I would have stayed because it probably could have been fun. But yeah, I've been to Cheyenne looking for a ballpark. Yeah, not Little League yet. Not Little League.
I like driving in Wyoming.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's the one place I actually hit 100, and it's because it's so flat. Yeah, you're so high, right? Like you're like Wyoming Stadium in Laramie has they claim to be the highest elevated. They don't claim, they are at 7,220 feet. But anyway, like I got to 100 and I was all proud of myself. I mean, I'll never do it again. It was my old 92 Buick Skylark. I'm surprised the thing didn't cough out.
You really got to plan your driving in Wyoming because there's a lot of signs that you got to get used to on interchanges which say no services available. So if you're planning on getting gas at the next interchange, you better think
next
twice.
Rest area, 5 hours.
Man.
Any thoughts on the bowls this year? Or?
Yeah, no, I'm first of all, I'm very excited to see some new blood in the playoffs. TCU being in there. I still consider Michigan new blood. I still kind of consider Georgia new blood. Ohio State, good for them. They got in there. I would have liked to seen USC in there, but it's good to see. I think the Big Ten has a lot of has a lot of chest puffing right now, having two Big Ten teams in there, and can kind of flex against the SEC having had many years with multiple teams in the playoffs.
Doesn't it feel like the Big Ten got two by default, though?
Well, at least one. I mean, Michigan is pretty legit.
Well, the second one, yeah. I mean, Michigan, you can't question that.
But... Ohio State by default, a little bit. It's funny. I listen to Ohio State fans, and they are calling for Ryan Day's head already. I'm like, their head coach. I'm like, y'all lost to Michigan twice, lost to Oregon. That's all they have. I mean, like, oh man. See, I hope. Don't ever get greedy. Like, be happy. Like, that you have a team that's in the conversation.
Look down south to Auburn at how they fire coaches left, right, and center. You win a national championship at Auburn. That doesn't mean anything 2 years later.
Exactly. So Ohio State's still being in the conversation. There's so many. How about Nebraska? 3 championships in the 90s, and they have turned over so many coaches. I mean, ridiculous. And they just can't get their legs anymore. So, a team like Ohio State, I get frustrated when Ohio State fans complain. I really do. A lot of good New Year's Six matchups. Love the Penn State Utah Rose Bowl. Tulane is the group of 5 team that's getting into the New Year's Six. That should be fun for them. They're playing USC. I think Alabama, Kansas State will be good. The Orange Bowl is literally all orange, Clemson and Tennessee. So a lot of good bowl games in there this year. I think the one I'm going to is going to be pretty good. Oregon and North Carolina are kind of like both third place teams in their conference. I think it should be pretty strong. So, with 43 bowl games, how could you go wrong? I mean, I might be a traditionalist, but I really do kind of like the bowl games. I mean, I still do think I would agree that there are a few too many. But I like leading up, knowing where my team's going to be. Who are they going to play? You usually wind up playing a team that you don't normally play. And then, it's a great opportunity for fans to go to a cool city. And there's a lot of great events that go with bowl games that are so much fun. And, I mean, people say, oh, it doesn't count. Well, yeah, it doesn't count for a championship. But, I mean, I look at so many teams that are so excited to be in their games. So excited to have one more opportunity. And as far as like the practices are concerned, as far as all the, basically like free development that you get from a bowl game, the swag and the advertising and the everything. I mean, it's fun to see your school in the spotlight. Like I don't think they're pointless, and I hope they keep them, even if they do fall more and more into a consolation bracket. I think it's still so much fun.
Yeah, I was frustrated and really enjoyed listening to Alabama fans try and rationalize why they should have had that 4th spot. And they come up with all these reasons and they were, well, what did Nick Saban say? That Vegas would have favored them. So,
isn't that rat poison? Is he feeding himself rat poison? I think he just did.
But at the same time, that sense of entitlement, and if I think if there's one thing I can't stand in a sports fan, it's a sense of entitlement. And we've all heard it, like Yankee fans and Dodger fans and Laker fans and now
Twitter, come on,
Alabama fans, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Let's just take forget it. We'll just Alabama, you can be the national champion forever and forget it. We won't even bother with any of this, right? Like
you know what the problem with that is? It's not just, so you use the word entitlement. I use the word complacency. So I went to an Alabama game. They were playing Arkansas, ranked in the top 10. No, they were number 1. How could you not? Like, and that was another one where they just fell kind of flat to me that day. It was like, I just think, oh, we're going to walk in. We're expecting to win. When every game's an expected win. Yeah. I had a fan say to me, oh, you should come next week when we're playing LSU. Well, you're playing a SEC team tonight, at night, under the lights. It's going to be exciting. Like, I'm here. Like, and you're already telling me that it's not going to be exciting, like, or as exciting as it should be. I think, like, okay, I'm a Wisconsin fan. Never has Wisconsin made the playoffs or had a shot for the national championship. But even I would not want Wisconsin to win championship after championship after championship. What happens is all these fans start hating your team, and the fans themselves, like I said, they absolutely grow complacent. Wisconsin went to 3 Big Ten championships in Indianapolis. By the third one, there was less and less Badger fans going. It was like, oh, here we are again. And, like, you don't want that. Like, and it's nice to see other teams get in there and have other fan bases experience. That's why I'm excited for this 12-team playoff.
You had that too. You had, like, I know what you're saying with Alabama. You had Nick Saban out, complaining about fans, complaining about students, right? Like,
right.
Come on, guys. Like, you can't leave at half every game. Like, it's
exactly. Even he said it. And I just, a reminder. Like, I think Michigan is a great example. Like, they're a power team, but they had a solid decade there where they just were unpredictable, losing to Toledo and losing to Appalachian State and losing to, I used to really not like the Michigan fan base, but they've been humbled now, and they're like, we really appreciate where we are, and I think that's been the best thing for them.
And I like Michigan's storyline because to me, it teaches something about even working in those environments, right? And you see in the NFL with quarterbacks, for Michigan fans to expect that Jim Harbaugh was going to walk in and make them a national champion in a year is unrealistic, right? It takes time. It takes time to bring in your own people, your own recruiting class. It takes time to find that number one quarterback who you really, really want. And it's not, that person doesn't come from the transfer portal. That person isn't a third stringer on a team that you didn't recruit. You got to go and find that person, right? And now that he's been there a few years, these are Jim Harbaugh's guys, all of them. The coaching staff, the team, and everything, right? And you see that, I find it in sports across the board, right? Like, maybe not baseball, just because the nature of baseball, everything takes so long. But, what was the story on Trevor Lawrence coming in and playing for Jacksonville, right? Like, he didn't have a lights out year first year. Well, he's a bust. Or any of these other quarterbacks who like, look at
Zach
Baker Mayfield.
Wilson.
He had 2 years in Cleveland or whatever. 4 games in Carolina, and you're out the door. It's the money and the exposure has just made everybody so impatient. And that focus on what the end is, we forget the journey, right?
Yeah.
And isn't that what sports is really about? Isn't it about the journey?
The stadium journey. Yeah.
Well, look at Zach Wilson. I'm a Jet fan. He's looked him to be a bust. And we got Mike White, who, I think was a 5th-round pick waived by the Cowboys, playing better than him.
Well, and here's where this 12-team playoff is going to do wonders for what you just said. I think that now you have a 12-team playoff where you don't have to be in the top 40, be in the spotlight, be in the top 12 now and be in the spotlight. That's going to save some coaches' jobs, isn't it? So, there's more space to get into a playoff, and it's going to spread the talent a little bit more. Now, if these teams are in the spotlight, that are ranked 7th or ranked 9th, and they're playing another top level team with a game that really has big significance, in prime time and all that. Now you've just opened up the recruiting doors even wider. Talent's going to spread even more. So I just think it's so good for the sport to have this. It's just been anchored down by old traditionalist ways. And of course, I say I am a traditionalist, but I think there's a way you can marry the old with the new. You can still keep bowl games and do the playoffs. I think it's going to be a great way to ensure that talent spreads, and hopefully just getting into the playoffs, with some teams getting into the playoffs, will start to cool off some of these hot seats for coaches, and you know what I mean? Like, I think it'll help a little bit, in my estimation.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the 12-team playoff. I'm worried that bigger conferences are going to make what were once great teams mediocre teams, and what were mediocre teams bad teams. Like, does Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC make Texas and Oklahoma at the top of the SEC, or does it make them do they become Arkansas?
Or like, who cares? Because now with 12-team playoff, like 12th ranked Texas can still have a shot. You know what I mean? Even if they're somewhat mediocre, you have a 3-loss season likely. There might be some 4-loss teams that get in. A hint of mediocrity does not count you out. And so, while they might be kind of flat in the conference because their competition during the season is tougher, if they have the opportunity to have that showcase in the playoffs, then they can really show how they are on a national scale compared to everybody else. So, I hear you. There's going to be there's natural consequences to whatever you do. UCLA and USC joining the Big Ten. Oh God, what's going to happen there? But I mean, it's I'm cool with the change. I'm cool with the changes because I think there's been so much status quo, and I think it's only kept the platform where the Alabamas are always winning. I heard someone say, "Oh, so you open it up to 12 teams, Alabama and Clemson are still going to win it every year." Well, it's not even about that. It's about giving
this year.
No, not this year. That's right. But they say the same teams are still going to win no matter how many teams you have in the playoff. Well, you don't know that, number one, and number two, like, you are opening up the playoffs to build a spotlight and give teams a chance to play Alabama that wouldn't have had it otherwise. I'm excited for Alabama, Kansas State. I think that the bowl game this year, that would be like an awesome playoff game. That would be like an ideal playoff game that a 12-team playoff would provide. That would really give a team like Kansas State the spotlight they would need to, show their relevancy. I think Kansas State's going to win that game.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
You heard it here first.
All right, so that's before we end up at another 2-hour show. I think that's where we should probably wrap it up. Actually, that's Mark, fair. You know what? You talked about having some interesting takes on Notre Dame Stadium. You want to share those real quick?
Yeah, Notre Dame Stadium.
If you want to counterpoint or agree with them, I'm in.
Well, Notre Dame Stadium to me is a very basic stadium. It's kind of no frills. You go there, you sit down in the bleachers, and
I'd agree.
You watch the game. It's the food. I almost gave it a 2 on the review. It was pretzels, hot dogs, and hot cocoa, and they had a pot roast sandwich. No,
you should have been there during the Winter Classic. It was awful.
Yeah, I was just like, this is all you get? Like Purdue blows you away with what you can get at their stadium. I was just shocked. But, it is Notre Dame Stadium. The tailgating is great. It did snow during my visit. So you got a little bit of that college football weather. Of course, I was freezing my butt off. 2 days later, it was 50 degrees. But I'm not saying I should probably go there next time when the weather's a little bit nicer, walk around the campus. But yeah, not as impressive as I thought it would, as I remember it.
I feel that the benches there are predating the term bleachers. Like, that's how old they are. I feel that Newt Rockne took his hammer and pounded those wooden babies in himself. Like,
unless you've been to the Yale Bowl, you can't talk.
Oh my gosh.
Because even there's like certain parts of that stadium, because it was snowing, so places were getting wet. They didn't shovel the snow, so you're slipping and sliding. I felt like I was at a very archaic stadium in some regards. I do like what I did like. They took old tickets and they blew them up and they framed them with look like old wooden bleachers, which might have been from Rockne's era. And they hung up some old programs, so they had sort of this Art Deco feel throughout the concourse, but even the concourse felt very. It just felt like I felt like I was back in time a little bit watching a football game. It just was not a modern facility, and I thought IU and what's the other one I went to? Purdue. I thought those had a little more charm and a little more modern touches compared to Notre Dame, but it was odd.
I would say that the facility itself is not spectacular. They really pound the crap out of you with the Notre Dame is amazing and have been here forever, and championship banners and All-American banners, and they got like 4 bronze statues of coaches. And,
Yep.
But I think the real key to Notre Dame is actually outside the stadium. It's the campus. Yeah. The experience itself is pretty amazing, but Notre Dame's campus itself is probably one of the best that I've
it's
ever
a beautiful
seen.
Campus.
It is. Touch on Jesus, the grotto, the whole thing. And, the antiquated nature of the stadium might just be part of its charm. That's trying to go, that old world charm.
That was going to be my question for you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm. I stole it from you?
No, I was going to ask you that question, so that's good. That's usually Dave's job, is to steal my question or answer my question before I ask it.
My job is to anticipate the questions before they are asked.
That's why you're such an awesome guest, and I think you may be our all-time leader in guest appearances on the Stadium Journey podcast now.
I'm honored.
This is like your 5th or 6th time with us, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
All right, we will continue to have you on until you finally reach that finish line, as long as we're still doing this damn show.
As long as you don't get canceled by the woke media.
Boy.
Or the website cax permanently.
Got 9 lives.
Almost happened, man.
Stadium Journey's not going anywhere.
All right. Well, let's keep believing that. And Santa Claus is coming too. All right. That's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks, everyone, for joining us and listening in. Andrew, thank you for joining us tonight. Tell our listeners about your website and where they can follow your travels here, there, and everywhere.
All right. You can find me at collegefootballtour.com. That's the website. My Instagram is at collegefootballtour. My Twitter is at college_FB_tour. And find me on YouTube. If you Google Stadium Shorts and your team, you might just find an episode of my experience there.
There's a guy with a very similar Instagram handle to yours.
Yeah.
I think he's college or like CFB campus tour or something.
Yes. His name is Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, I met Mike. We actually ended up at Mass Maritime on the same night, on a Thursday night.
Really?
Night. I was like, at first I thought it was you. I was like, Andrew, what the hell are you doing here? I said, hey, I'm here too. And we met up like, wait a minute, that's not Andrew.
now, where can we find you again on YouTube?
If you go to the website, the name of it is the page is College Football Tour, but my episodes are all called Stadium Shorts, and you might be able to find your team's episode if you Google Stadium Shorts or search Stadium Shorts in your team.
I'll look it up.
All right, cool.
All right, and your followers will be able to check you out in San Diego at the Holiday Bowl coming up soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
All right. Dan, where can our listeners follow you?
Dan Law 83.
And hopefully when they follow you, you'll have your voice back. Right? Mark, where can our listeners follow you? And you got anything planned for the next couple of weeks?
Well, I've been doing a lot lately. I've been going to a lot of games, Notre Dame Pacers. I'm probably going to do some high school basketball and Ball State basketball. That's coming up the next couple of weeks. I do have 2 weeks off coming up in December. Maybe something in Chicago when I see the family. I'll let you guys know on Twitter, Ballpark Hunter, and on YouTube. I am monetized now. I am making the big bucks. When will I see it? I don't know, but it's finally reached that point there. So yeah, check out my YouTube journeys on Ballpark Hunter, Instagram, and of course Twitter. I'm still on Twitter, haven't left yet, so check me out there.
Dave, how about yourself? Where can our listeners follow you, and what do you got planned?
Twitter and Instagram at Profan9. This Sunday, I am heading to Highmark Stadium. I'm going to watch the Buffalo Bills beat up on Mark Viquez's New York Jets. And then the
Mike White.
The following Saturday, it will be the Owen Sound Attack, unless we get a weather issue and driving up there becomes an issue. So follow those, Twitter and Instagram, @ProFan9.
As far as myself, family obligations are interfering in my stadium travels over the next couple of weeks. My son's getting married on Saturday, so obviously I can't go to any games that day. My granddaughter's birthday party is next Sunday, so that'll be another day staying home with the family happily, so I'm not complaining. So not much room for sports in there. I will be at the Fenway Bowl, weather permitting and wife permitting, next Saturday, and I've only got actually one more night behind the mic this year, so a much needed rest after the UMass Dartmouth games on Wednesday night. So you can follow my Stadium Journeys on Twitter and Instagram @PuckmanRI. And don't forget, we have a new and improved website, stadiumjourney.com. Check it out. We're in the process of moving all the reviews from the old site to the new site. Bear with us. That's going to take some time. Hopefully, we're getting all those technical issues worked out so you can still enjoy all our great content at oldstadiumjourney.com. Or actually, everything's going to link over, so you don't even have to worry about Old Stadium Journey. But at stadiumjourney.com, follow us on social media at Stadium Journey. Audio versions of the Stadium Journey podcast can be found by searching HIAC Talk Radio Network, wherever you look for your favorite podcast. You can find video simulcast of this podcast and our other great content by going to Stadium Journey's YouTube page and join us for our live streams. Be part of our live studio audience every other Tuesday night at 7 Eastern at danlaw.tv. We will be back in 2 weeks. I think we're getting back to our regular schedule every other Tuesday. So that brings us to December 20th. We will be recording our annual end of the year episode, one of my favorites to do every year. So tune in, join us. What were our favorite games, our favorite venues, our favorite cities? What were our biggest surprises of 2022? Tune in and find out. So for Andrew, Mark, Dave, Dan, I'm Paul. Wishing you all safe journeys and close games. See you on the road real soon.